the investors want the refurb costs at the start of putting an offer in, which is understandable because they need to make sure that the figures work for the deal to stack. Yet, if they have complications with solicitors or hold-ups, that could be 3-4 months down the line where material prices may have shot through the roof.
Yeah, that's so true.
So
I believe we're heading into one of the most volatile times in property history, and it's time for you to exchange your time and your education for wealth. Ever since I started this podcast, I have been on a mission to find out what traits make someone successful. What experience do they have? What environment did they grow up in? It's really important to find and locate these certain traits because you need to transmute that into what you do every day. It's been a great learning so far and there's lots more coming, so stay tuned for great interviews throughout this podcast. Hi there all, Sebron here. I'm with Barrie from Curtis Property Investments. Now, I've got an absolute treat for you because Barrie is a builder, but he is also a property investor and he's got lots of knowledge and experience in property. Now, thanks for coming, Barrie. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No problem.
I've known Barrie a little while now and we do work together and he's a great builder, knows his stuff. If you see his house, you'd be amazed. What's a little bit outside of property that you do?
Played rugby for a good few years. Sort of coming to the end of that now. Too old now. So mountain biking, do a little bit of downhill mountain biking with the kids. So take them out and just sort of family stuff then.
Nice.
Take them out for meals, trips, days out and stuff like that. So
lovely.
Winding down from the sport now, sort of into more family stuff now.
Yeah. I respect that a lot. So should we start off with your story? How you got into property? How, what you've done at the start? How did you transition over?
Yeah, so plasterer by trade, sort of done that sort of straight from school. Knew I wasn't sort of academically sort of too well to go into sort of anything else. So I sort of thought the best route for me to go would be a trade.
Okay.
Which then I sort of picked up an apprenticeship, which I'd done in plastering.
Nice.
Finished that and sort of started up my own plastering company then.
Okay.
Age 20.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good age for that.
Yeah, and sort of the only reason I sort of fell into doing it myself was the company that I'd done my apprenticeship with, they were sort of paying me as minimum as possible.
Okay.
Yet I was picking up jobs on the side then, on the weekends, that was paying me that or double. So I thought to myself, I was still living at home at the time. So I thought, even if I pick one of these jobs up throughout the week, I could earn my money that I was on for a full week or more.
Yeah.
And sit in the house for the rest of the week then, if needed be.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So from an early age, you already realised the potential of working for yourself compared to the potential of working for the company.
That's it. So, sort of done that then. Again, because the plasterers I was working for, they had a good name, so they know that I was sort of taught well. Yeah. And then it just sort of snowballed then. So then started getting in with builders and stuff like that. And just sort of
went on from there.
Yeah, run the plastering then.
As anyone knows, plastering is a real skill that I believe. How difficult is plastering, when you start out? Do you pick it up quite quickly or does it take a while to...
It takes a while. You can sort of pick it up relatively quick, yet it's all the different sort of scenarios. Like, you can pick it up to skim over a plasterboard wall relatively quick, yet if you're doing over skim or something like that, then there's different sort of techniques involved, etc. But that's sort of all experience then, and that's why you need the time to do all that, so you get experience on different scenarios with it.
No, absolutely understand that. So went into plastering, apprenticeship, done your own business, realised that you could do 1 day a week there, and it would cover the cost of the apprenticeship, which is brilliant. And then sort of expanded from there, was it? So you took on more work?
Yeah, so we took on more work. We got involved then with a company that was doing external wall insulation.
Yeah.
So sort of jumped into that. Plenty of work with that. So took my mate on at the time then, which then we sort of formed a partnership then.
Nice.
And run that. Had a good few boys working for us, but I didn't. It was good at the time, but again, it was just something that I couldn't see myself doing
long term
up until retirement age. Again, it's very, plastering or bricklaying or anything like that. Wet trades is, it's very taxing on the body, and I kind of knew that I needed another avenue to go than do plastering for the rest of my life.
Yeah. No, I respect that massively, because some people will just pick up the trowel and that might be it.
Yeah,
it's a good earner, but like you say, you forfeit your body eventually.
Yeah, that's it.
Doing that, so having an ambition to sort of try and get off the tools eventually.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that was your calling? If you would say growing up, did you have a real passion for something else that you wanted to go into?
It's not so much really. It was when you're a kid, it's always when you're really young, it's always policeman, fireman type of thing as you're running around the streets and stuff. But it's kind of when you sort of hit sort of mid, comprehensive, and you do need to start thinking, right, okay, what am I going to do when I leave school? And then it's kind of weighing up your options then.
To what
suits you best then. Hence, that's why into construction.
Okay. And would you say because I know you run a fully operating building business now, would you say that you like plastering the least from doing it the most?
Yeah. I don't like plastering. No, not at all now. I think it's just that many years of doing it constantly.
Yeah.
Is
it a sort of tedious job now?
I find it a tedious job.
Yeah. Like
other people don't, but I find it a tedious job now.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's really good to know. So you started the partnership with your friends.
Yep.
And then did that sort of fizzle out? Did it stem to want to do other things?
Yeah, it kind of is. We run the partnership, like I said. We had some cracking contracts and work. When we were doing it. But in the sort of meantime, then I started looking into property. Started coming across the YouTube videos, all these mentors, etc., putting their videos out on there, and just sort of educating myself on it. Sort of looked into it more, and then just started making plans then to step into property. So hence, that's what I sort of did then, try and educate myself as much as I can. Yeah. And then go into my first property then.
I think that's really good that you took the time to sort of level up your education side. Yeah. I think YouTube's probably one of the most powerful learning tools as it is.
Yeah, and it's, you take what you can from it. Is, some people say, oh, well, it can't be that good because it's all free. But it's what you pick up from, what you're learning. Yeah. You start implementing them. Yeah. Into small stuff, and then you educate yourself on that, and then you can you go on from there. Then you educate yourself more and more. Yeah. Write everything down. Yeah. And then you'd be surprised what you can learn. Yeah. But it is putting the hours in.
I agree with that. I think you learn the theory, and then you implement what you learn. Yeah. And then you learn from that. That's and then it just sort of snowballs and works from there, and then you start growing and. Fair play. So it went from sort of the partnership to learning about property to what were you looking at? Sort of 2 to 3 bed like flips, or were you looking to?
Well, my plan was to get a flip first, which we ended up doing, and then initially that was our cash pot then to go into buy refurbished refinance. So. When we done the renovation on the first house, made a good cash pot, And then hence we had, cash on the hip then to start going into buy a refurbished refinance then.
Okay, so that sort of, as we know, buy refurb refinance, you get a pool of money, and then you can just keep recycling as much as you can.
That's it. Yeah.
So the idea was to get some money by flipping, and then use that capital to start putting into
to go into rentals then.
Nice.
Obviously that's to cover then the refurb, and then you get someone in, refinance it. You got the money then to sort of go again then.
And did that work all right?
Yeah. It's so we sort of started doing that. We had a couple on at the time, sort of getting those through legals and that. Sort of different scenarios. When we had a problem with Japanese knotweed, which I say was a problem, ended up in our favour because we were able to negotiate then the resale value.
Okay.
So we knocked them down then enough to sort the knotweed and everything out. So, the deal stacked up better because we managed to get the knotweed sorted out for less than what we negotiated the resale for.
Okay. Wow. So it's funny because these obstacles that come up that might be sort of scary to other people is an opportunity because you might get a cheaper property, solve the solution, which is the knotweed, and then you get a greater margin at the end.
That's it, yeah.
So I agree. I think sort of scenarios like that, find a solution, and it's good for you,
Yeah.
So talk me through your first deal. Sort of your first property you jumped into. Did it go to plan? Was there any hurdles?
It was. We were doing it on weekends because I was still working full time as a plasterer. So we sort of done that on weekends. My wife, kids had come up, sort of give a hand as much as they could. Mum and dad come up, so we sort of as a family we kind of just sort of turned that house round. Done it up to a nice standard, and then sort of resold it then.
Okay, so in terms of family time, is that your idea, getting everyone to work on the property?
Yeah, well, it was at that time. It was it's like they say, you got to make sort of certain sacrifices, which at that time where I was working full time plastering, and I only had time on the weekends to do the houses. Like the wife knew the bigger picture as well. So, they were fully on board with it, yet I still had to make certain family time then to try and,
keep that side of
keep the family happy as well as, get that house done and turned over within decent amount of time.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I think there's a lot of bonding there, that happens through processes and stuff. But no, I respect that a lot. So that was the first deal. Do you want to touch on some figures? Just some rough figures?
Yeah, so I think off the top of my head, what I can remember is I think we picked the house up for 55,000. The refurb, we were only just sort of paying for materials because hence, family was coming in. I was doing the majority of the work myself.
Yeah.
So I think the refurb cost was roughly about 8 to 10.
Okay.
So
good. Yeah. Very good.
Good. Very good. Yet, it's the time sacrifice then for getting those.
Yeah, the
figures.
labour.
Yeah. And then we sold it for 98,000 then. Wow. So good.
Good margin.
Yeah, good margin.
Saved a bit on the labour.
Yeah.
But still would have probably worked out well even if
that's it. Yeah.
Still had that margin. Brilliant. And so how many? So you just went on from there. Did you do any more flips, or did you just start then using that capital to recycle?
We used the capital to recycle. We picked up a 2-bed house then in Abbottleary, refurbed that, got a tenant in.
Nice.
Recycled the cash, and we picked one up in Argyle then. So that's the one with the knotweed.
Okay.
So they were roughly sort of going through the same time. So it was a lot to sort of work on the weekends then, because the one that we went in for in Abbottleary, that was sort of coming to the end of the refurb, where the one in Argyle then was just completing. So we sort of moved literally from Argyle, finishing that directly into into Abbottleary, finishing that directly into the Argyle house. and then sort of getting that ready to rent out then.
Yeah. How many years are we talking this was ago?
I think it was roughly about... I'll have to check on that one. I can't remember.
Are we talking
We're
like
probably looking about probably four years ago.
Okay. Yeah,
Roughly
so
about
like after all the massive crash, so the interest rates were quite low.
Yeah.
Money was cheap.
Yeah.
And when you come to refinance, did you get what you thought you would achieve?
Yes, again, back to the YouTube thing is you educate yourself on doing analysis on the market afterwards. So we implemented that into our sort of workings out, and we achieved what we were sort of looking for.
Nice. That's
so
good.
that was good in the fact that we could move on then because the figures come out right. So we stress tested it as well to make sure that if it was downvalued, the deal did stack, and we could sort of still pull the money out and move on to the next one. Then
that's really good. Really good. I'm happy it all went reasonably okay. There was probably hurdles within everything, but that's the main thing, isn't it?
That's it,
Is the reval going to be as much as you think it is? Are you going to get a down value? So really good stuff. So plastering, part-time renovation turned into sort of full-time renovation as a company, or?
So where we were doing the refurbs then, we, as kind of everyone does, they set up their Instagram page. We set up another company then, Curtis Property Investments, solely just to run our own portfolio.
Okay.
So that was the idea behind the company, was just any houses in the company, and that was it.
Yeah.
But back to Instagram then, you document your sort of journey.
Yeah.
People then start following you. They're seeing what you're doing. We started getting messages then from investors, deal sources. So we looked at that then, and they were buying houses sort of around our area, South Wales, a little bit of travelling from where we invest, but nothing too far. And we kind of just rolled into a project management sort of company then, and construction business, taking on the refurbs for investors.
Wow.
So they got a turnkey product at the end. So, we take on the property, do the full refurb, and they get the house finished that they can just list on the market then, so they can either sell it or rent it out after we finish with it.
So the power of social medias. Do you reckon you would have got that if you didn't post and blog and vlog?
No, not at all. It was nothing that we pushed for. So it just sort of come naturally. So it was, if we didn't push it on socials, it definitely wouldn't have come to where it is.
As organic as it did. Which is really good, because you were sort of ahead of the time, really. Because it wasn't seen as, it was obviously powerful, but it wasn't seen as a tool now to engage your target market, your customers in essence. So really, really good stuff there. And I absolutely applaud anyone who does vlog or blog their journey, because you don't know where it could lead to.
Yeah, and that's it. It's, like I said, we didn't intentionally go out to set up a business that'll manage and take on the refurbs for investors. Like I said, it was purely for our own portfolio.
Yeah.
Yet that's what it sort of built into then.
Yeah. So was the idea then to carry on plastering and just build your own portfolio?
Yeah, so the initial plan was to carry on plastering, get enough houses to replace your income, and then you can move out of the plastering then, because your income is replaced.
Covered. Yeah.
And just move on from there. But like that started happening then while I was still plastering. So come a little bit difficult then trying to run the plastering business, run these renovations then for investors, oversee them, and still building my own portfolio at the time.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. So it was
that's a big pie.
quite sort of stressful time then, which in essence something had to give.
Yeah.
So that's when, like, I knew plastering wasn't the end goal. So that's what had to sort of give in the end then.
Yeah, definitely.
So me and my partner at the time, we kind of went our separate ways then. He stayed with plastering, which he's still doing now. And then I sort of just went into...
management and more
went into the project management side then.
Yeah, I like it. You and your partner went your both ways. You started project managing, he carried on with plastering. And then the next step was the investors are coming in from social media, so you got a lot of workload on. What was the stage after that, taking on work?
So after that then, we started getting deal sources contacting us again. Hence, I assume they were watching our sort of progress through social medias. And obviously they wanted us to do their refurbs for them. So they contacted us, then we started taking on work for them then. So it's so the more work was coming in, which is good.
Yeah.
But the refurb figures wasn't what they matched out to be.
So they were sort of, because I'm a deal sourcer, deal packager. You sort of work out what you need to do, and then you send it over to yourself. Were you finding that they were close to what they were saying?
On some of the deals they sent across, which, you know, it was fine. But a bit sort of naive of myself was, I thought, well, these deal sources have been in the game for a long time. You know, big following. Their figures must be right. So we kind of run with their figures then. Like I said, some of them stacked up, you know, we'd be able to do the refurb for it, which was great.
Yeah.
But we did come across a few of the properties then which were underpriced then. Investor expectation then.
Yeah.
Again, sort of come into that, you know, they were expecting different stuff to what
you were given because
we
of the
were given.
budget. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was sort of a very sort of, and again, this was all sort of early doors of setting the business up. So
reputation was on the line.
Yeah, that's it. And
well.
you know, you wanna, you know, cast yourself out there to be the best, and you know, sort of, again, with your word, produce quality houses.
Yeah.
But for those figures, it just wasn't. It wasn't happening. So it was just a good few sort of sleepless nights, stressful at the time. But we kind of just sort of knuckled through it. Hence, I was able to come back on the tools then to sort of get projects finished close to time and on the budget. So it was,
that's a challenging time, because you've got the expectation of the deal sourcer who's messed up. You're taking the rap because the investors, you know, they're just the middleman, the deal packager. You know, the investors probably expecting this high end sort of SA maybe accommodation, and they're getting, you know, standard buy to let with budget materials. And I mean, that must have been difficult for yourself, holding your own reputation, wanting to do well for both sides. Because you wanted more work from the deal packager and potentially more work from the investor themselves straight to you.
That's it.
But having to, you know, work through that. Yeah,
and again, it was sort of, it was very, very hard at the time. But it's something you either just put your hands up and say, look, you know, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can't work this out. You either knock it on the head, walk away.
Yeah.
Or you come up with a solution. You sort of, right, let's take it on the shoulders now. Let's work out what can be done to get it you know, so the investor is happy.
Yeah.
You know, we're still, you know, making money on it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can learn from this situation.
Did
So-
you find that solution?
Yeah, it was a lot of sort of pull and pull from me, sort of jumping on the tools, sort of, but it was kind of down then once we sort of reversed everything and just see what was the build up to this going not wrong, but
pear-shaped.
yeah, it was down to sort of admin.
Okay.
Which then we come up with new contracts. We wrote everything in the new contracts then, sort of stated literally everything, payment terms, sort of the standard of what they get in, stating then that if they want to go slightly higher end, it's going to be additional. It's just little things. And again, like the only admin, not training, but that I'd done with previous to this was just sending out invoices with the plastering.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, all this again was all new. So it's stuff you learn. And again, if we didn't have those problems,
You would never have
we
the
wouldn't have
experiences to deal
we
with
wouldn't have done it. So again, it's learning from your mistakes.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, you know, working with builders and investors alike, like myself, everything needs to be clear.
Yeah.
You know, what's the job? What's the time period? What's the cost?
Yeah.
You know, what are the factors here? So everything's written down. So there's no grey areas within
That's
that.
it, yeah.
Because there's always going to be grey areas.
Yeah.
But you try and mitigate that, don't you?
That's it, yeah.
So good planning again goes down to good communication,
Yeah.
and I think that's really important. But absolutely agree, that must have been a tough situation to be in.
Yeah, it was, and it was a couple of houses sort of involved in that as well. And again, with that, it was not so much. It was the build teams we had in place as well.
Yeah.
We had a lot of coming in.
Yeah.
That we had to sort of still go through, you know, sort of to build a good team, which, you know, I thought at one point it was like, there can't be this many bad tradesmen out there. It's, you know, it was just constant. It was, you know, we'd sort of get rid of a team. They wasn't delivering. Next one had come in, promise you the world, wouldn't deliver.
Yeah.
And it was just non-stop. And hence, that's why I was getting on the tools, pushing these jobs across.
Mistakes, like.
And I'd be around, you know, 3 or 4 jobs in a day, doing a little bit here, on the next one, do a little bit there.
Oh, man.
But then, thankfully, again, like buses, trades or rubbish trades for so long.
Yeah.
And then we just had a flow then of brilliant trades coming then.
Okay. What's a tip, just a quick tip, in terms of finding a good tradesman?
I'd say try and see their work previous, in person if you can.
Yeah.
Photos can
Be misleading.
they can tell a different story.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, just kind of see their work in person if you can, and again, go with your gut.
Yeah. Okay.
Like a lot of times, we sort of went with someone just for the fact we had that many properties on.
Yeah, you just needed someone in.
Yeah, I just didn't quite have the gut feeling on it yet. We still needed trades in.
Yeah.
But yeah, go with your gut and
do your rapport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check them out. See their work in person if you can. But yeah, just kind of get quick to get rid of them if it does start. If your gut kind of tells you it's sort of wrong.
Yeah.
Then yeah, just try and get rid
if possible,
quicker rather than later.
Yeah. I like that a lot. So we touched on sort of the tradesman, the business side of things. So everything started to come in. You know, the teams were being built, the processes were being there, the learnings from previous jobs were coming in and sort of started to align. Would you say that when it was flowing good? You were taking on a lot of work?
And then when we got the trades in, we run different structures with them. We tried just doing paying them for the day, then on price work where we'd supply the materials. But we've kind of got to a phase now where it works well is we'll go in with a builder first of all. We'll do a site meeting with all the trades, and then they'll give us a supply and fit price. Mm-hmm. So it frees up more time for me because I'm not running around dropping materials off on each job. Yeah. I can solely sort of concentrate then on turning up at the job, checking the quality of the job, checking the builders are going to get stuff done on time.
Yeah.
Not always the case, but it's property at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely.
But it just, again, frees up more time then for me to do the project managing side of it, as well as push the business even further.
Yeah. I like that. Like they say, focusing on the business, not in it.
Yeah.
I respect that a lot. Have you read The 12-Week Year?
No.
It's quite a famous book. I say quite a famous book. It's quite new.
Yeah.
But everyone's reading it.
Right.
And it's all about organising your business and things like that, and what's your main goals, and only focusing on them. And I feel like it may be relevant, but really good stuff. So everything's starting to work now. Life's good.
It's quite stressful, but it's...
How do you deal with that stress? Because you can't, from what I can tell, there's quite a strong mindset there. Finding the solutions, doing the right stuff, not being scared to take it on, having the desire to...
Yeah.
Where do you think that stems from? And, do you think there's days where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, or you just part of it?
Everyone gets their days where, like, I can't say I've ever said I don't want to do it anymore. Everyone gets their days where it's like, this is doing my head in a bit today. Yeah. But I think it's, you just kind of go away with it from that day. You just sort of try and sort yourself out for the following day then, which I find that I can do that sort of quite well. I'll have one day where it's like, it's doing my head in a little bit now. You get a few problems come through, and obviously you've got to deal with it, which standard, again, is property at the end of the day. Yeah. There's always problems. But, you look at the challenges, you think, right, okay, let's deal with this tomorrow. Let's write down what needs to be done. And then you sort of attack it then. The following day when you're in a better mindset then.
I agree with that. I think we all have bad days, or days that, don't go well. Plan for the next day. It's a new day. It's a new leaf. Go and attack it. So you've built up your own reasonably sized portfolio. You've got your own business. Everything's going hand in hand. You've got some days which are rubbish. Some days which go well.
Yep.
Property's just one big problem solve at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's not only property, it's trades.
Yeah.
Dealing with trades is a different beast.
Yeah.
But when it all comes together, it's good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's enjoyable. I enjoy property. I love seeing a pig of a job turn into a home that can be, a lovely home for people renting, or if they're going to buy it, and that. I enjoy that.
It's quite crazy to think how vast property is, because if you think of a family of 3 or 4 need a whole property, you're just never going to have enough, are you?
No.
In reality. No. Just constantly renovating, building, refurbing, because in 20 years, the homes we live in today are going to be out of date and going to need refurbing to the next. So
definitely.
There's always that constant work and trying to level up. What do you reckon the difficulties are now in property building, in terms of sort of regulation maybe, or material costs? Or
material costs. again, with pricing your projects, they can change from, you know, the investors want the refurb costs at the start of putting an offer in, which is understandable because they need to make sure that the figures work for the deal to stack. Yet, if they have complications with solicitors or hold-ups, that could be 3-4 months down the line where material prices may have shot through the roof.
Yeah, that's so true.
So it's like you've got to try then and honour as much as you can that initial price you give for the refurb. You know, when you start the project then.
Yeah.
And again, you know, like I said, it could be 4 months before they complete. And then the refurb could be 3-4 months, depending on the size of it.
Completely change everything, couldn't it?
You know, materials are up and down for that period.
I've seen both sides. Well, I understand both sides of the coin, not as much as a builder would, because I'm on the other side. But I've seen investors be like, you know, we're giving you this number. They want it for that number.
Yeah.
But like yourselves having to deal with a constant change of costs and, you know, investors expecting the world for nothing.
Yeah,
you know,
that's it.
and jobs being done cheap that, you know, cost you time and an energy. So it is difficult to hold it both, isn't it? Because of the environmental change around everything.
Yeah, and I think, you know, touching on sort of builders and that come in and they quote for deal sources or investors, it's kind of different to where we're coming from, in the fact that we invest in property as well. So we understand the process.
Yeah.
We kind of understand everything that the investor's looking for. Where a builder will come in and think, oh, a refurb, I can make a killing here. They'll chuck a price in and they've finished the project and they're gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's where we understand the investor, so we know the process leading up to the refurb.
Yeah.
We know we got to try and make that refurb work within those numbers or the deal will fall through.
Yeah.
Yet we also try and get the house visually ready, one for photos before it's completely finished.
Yeah.
So they can start
putting
advertising
it for whatever they want to do. Yeah.
Plus for the refinance, we get it to a standard where we can contact the investor and say, look, if you want to get your refinancing company out now, it's all good enough for them to see. Then they can start that refinance process before the house is finished as well. So it's just little bits and pieces like that sort of, you know, go a long way with the investor.
100%. Thanks for pointing that out, because it's good from my side to see your point of view of things as well. I think that you touched on something really good there, and that was the more responsibility you have dealing with investors and trying to make it work, instead of just coming in for someone who's quoted down their own home. Yeah. That you could just do a refurb on and walk away. You don't have to worry about the rest of it. So I think that's a really good factor, and a service that definitely should be. I'm a firm believer of fair exchange, and if you're doing good jobs and you're offering a valuable service, then you should get paid for that. Yeah. You know, and I think you're going above and beyond. Why do you think you went into more of that route than the standard? Someone rings you up, they've got an empty house, do your job, get out of there. Do you think there's more work?
I think it's just purely the fact that we know the process. We haven't come from, say, we was in the construction company first, stepping into working with investors. We were investors, with investors contacting us. And then grow the construction business around the investor model. In sense. So, you know, we understand everything from the investor's point of view. And then just sort of implement that in the company. And again, being a people's game as well. You want everyone to have the best experience with your company. At the end of the day, it's you know, it's your reputation. You you know, you're going to get sort of bumps in the road, and that as you go along, it's understandable. It's, you know, you quote for something as a shell, you can't really see what's hidden until you start going in there. So, you know, we always try and give a top end refurb cost.
Yeah, okay.
Because it saves that awkward conversation then. Sort of, oh, well, you didn't say you wanted this or stuff like that, so that's going to cost you more. It's going to cost you more.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if those prices start racking up, they are stuck with a house then, with a deal that's going to be negative.
Yeah.
So we understand it.
Yeah, I like that as well, where you sort of say every refurb is going to be top spec.
Yeah.
Regardless then, because, you know, you're delivering a budget house and the investor's not happy, but they haven't explained that, and then it's bad blood sort of. But you've already you're going in for the top notch.
Yeah,
that's really, really good. I like that. So if investors and sort of deal sources take the worst scenario of numbers, and then you charge the best, there's a good margin there for it to be meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and it's like each investor will have a different, you know, we've had properties before where they don't want to spend too much on it, which again, for the deal to work, we understand that.
Yeah.
But, you know, as long as the investor knows that if they want the old walls painted over, then, you know, we'll paint over the old walls. Yet it's not going to look as good as, you know, we do the full job, but it's what the deal works out. So it's, you know, again, we understand that.
Okay. Any tips for investors taking on renovations? Would you say because we always know, you know, have a contingency.
Yeah.
In that, expect the worst.
I'd say that. I'd sort of expect the worst case scenario. Always, whatever the price is, don't be set on that. Or if you're scrimping money for that price,
it's not going to. No.
Yeah, because it don't always go over, but it's a good chance it may go over. When you're viewing the properties, just look for structural stuff.
Okay.
Because again, that could not only break the deal, it could break your property journey then. Do you mean if you've got to sump all your money into that house solving that problem,
you're buggered, and you for 10 could be 10 years of
that's it.
That's
you're back to square one then. Everything's sunk into that property where you may not even get any money back out.
Yeah. Do you reckon this potential correction in the market is going to affect business in terms of, you know, a deal stacking up? So now you're dealing with investors.
Yes.
I mean, you can't take that on board because no one can. But if, you know, it works now and it drops in 20% while you're going through a refurb process.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unfortunate, isn't it, really?
Yeah. It's like no one knows how the market's going to go. You know, it could work out in everyone's favour. It could not. So, you know, we've just got to try and work with getting that project finished in a short amount of time where the market is not going to correct itself too much.
Yeah.
And at least they know their sort of figures then. But it's, again, nobody knows. They've increased the interest rates every month.
And they're going to do again next month.
Yeah, so...
and another one after that. Apparently.
Yeah, it is hard. So...
That's property though, isn't it? Because you get the highs of if it goes up as well.
That's it, yeah.
So you get the highs with the lows, and I guess you can only work. That's what we say now. You know, you can only work to what's going on today.
Yeah.
You know, if that does happen, I was speaking to Gary last week in his interview, and he said about, you know, property is very forgiving because as long as it's made cash flowing all right, you could be making £1. But you'll be fine because you just sit and hold it for 10 years and it'll pull you back out.
Yeah, capital appreciation, you know, we know that houses are never going to crash.
Yeah.
Drastically.
Yeah.
They're always, you know...
In the long term.
I know there's dips and, you know, dips and troughs, but over the long run of it, it always goes up.
Yeah.
So it's, as long as you can stress test your properties for any issues like this, then, you know, as long as they're sort of covering themselves, or like even if it is a small cash flow you're getting, you know, you're going to profit then from capital appreciation
100%.
10, 20 years down the line then.
Yeah. So I like this now. We touched on completely, you know, your story. We're coming up to date now. Plasterer to building your own portfolio, which sort of guided you into working with investors because you vlogged your journey, which led to having a full-on sort of build team with that, taking on more work, getting off the tools, which was the end goal.
Yep.
You know? What do you see for yourself in the next 10 years? What's ideal?
Well, we've set up another company now, Curtis Property Developments, which is going to take on development projects, hence the name.
Yeah.
And so, like, we've been approached by the architects on one of the projects we're doing now to tender direct to them. So with that company, then we're looking to just do bigger developments, as well as the refurbs running under Curtis Property Investments then. So the two companies are going to run under the same umbrella, yet two slightly different sort of
approaches.
paths on refurbs and builds, really.
Yeah.
In the future, the development side, I'd like to think that we could sort of push into big development projects, you know, sites of houses, possibly, you know, big renovations on different types of property, really.
Like commercial to residence, stuff like that?
Yeah, we got a few of those in the pipeline already.
Nice.
One of the investors that I'm quite close with, he's completed on a house in Cardiff, which he plans on turning into a 6 to 8 bed HMO.
Nice.
So again, that's all going to have to go through proper planning, regulations and stuff like that. So yeah, it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, I like
it's
that.
just keeping the teams good, keeping the quality good, and it should
And
all
leveling up in terms of
that's
what you're
it.
taking
Yeah,
on.
and then again with the Curtis Property Investments, then we'll just keep the refurbs going
I
enough
guess
for the
you can
teams.
take on like small jobs there, can't you? Fill them.
Yeah, that's
times
it.
where you don't
And-
have anything.
Yeah, and then where we go back to, you know, alterations in the market, if it did sort of slow down on the investment sort of side of it, where we're doing for investors, then sort of the development side, working with the architects, that's more sort of people doing the houses up. So if they want extensions or stuff like that, which that'll take that.
Yeah.
So if the investment slows down, everything then
To the
can just
residential
go to the
side.
residential side, where
Yeah.
if people aren't buying houses, they're going to be spending their money on their houses. So it's...
I think you've done a really smart thing here because you've got sort of an option for any scenario which
Yeah.
happens. If a new build slow down, you got the refurbs to carry on with. If the investor market slows down, you can jump into the residential
Yeah,
side.
that's it, yeah.
So, you know, different options there to where sort of the environment around you directs you.
Yeah,
which is
that's
like
it.
really good.
And I think that's just how everything has been from the start.
Yeah,
It's,
literally.
It's just how the
Adapting
environment...
to the
it's how the
times.
environment have pulled you and pushed you into different roads of, well, where we are today is, you know, like going back to when we first, you know, got our first investment property. It was...
Yeah.
That was what we were going to do, but then it got pulled into another route then, and now pulled into a different route now. So it's...
so it's like tradesmen, well, sort of when it wanted to do your own refurbs and take on your own portfolio, adapted to doing it for investors,
Yeah.
adapting it now to do it for developers
Yeah.
and residential with teams.
That's it, yeah.
So yeah, really good stuff. So we touched on your past, we touched on your present, we touched on the future, and it's been a great interview. Really has. I love how they sort of transition because they start out a bit like, you know, a bit edgy, and then towards the end there's flow and there's value there, there's content, there's context, so all this good stuff happening. Let's do some 3 quick fire questions and then let's tell everyone how they can reach out to you.
Brilliant.
And then we'll close it off there. All right, so the first one is, I forgot what we just said. Let's start off with, if someone was to start learning about building, about investing, where would you direct them to?
Obviously, a good place to start, where I started, was YouTube. Again, hours and hours of footage on there of just information, all for free.
Yeah.
You can get to networking events.
Yeah.
You're talking to like-minded people, which are happy enough to talk to, and any questions and that. And again, there's different levels of people there as well. So is always asking people, and they tend to have the questions.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The networking is massive.
Yeah.
Because there's different stages in networking.
Yeah,
isn't there?
definitely.
Beginners, middle, and so it could be people want to learn from you, or on the other end, people want to be a customer in your
That's
work.
right.
So, really good stuff. What's your favourite part of your job? All, in every aspect.
Minus the stress. I love handover. I love handing a house over, not for the fact that it's stressful and I need to get rid of it. It's just talking to the investors, just giving them a
heads up,
a family house, and again they're over the moon with it. That's the best part of the job is customer satisfaction.
I like that a lot. Really, really do like that answer. Lastly, what makes someone successful? What did you see in yourself that you would say that someone who's successful has?
I'd say definitely drive. You need a certain element of drive to take you through the bad times.
Yeah.
You need to be a people person. So that's quite sort of important. I wasn't at the start when I started out. Very, very shy. Didn't want to sort of talk to anyone, but it's stuff you need to do to get out there, because again, property, it's not only about the houses, it's people's game.
Yeah, I agree with that. The personal side of things is everything. Whether they come to you or whether they go to a competitor, or just talking about communicating and generally liking the person you're working with.
That's it. And it's if they like you and you've got a good sort of reputation, and you're conversing well with an investor, they may pay an extra $5 or whatever grand just to work with you, rather than somebody that they haven't got good rapport with.
Exactly.
And it's a cheaper refurb.
Yeah. It's not always about the money, is it?
No,
really?
that's right. Yeah.
It's what you get for your money.
Yeah.
That counts. I really like that, Barry. It's been a great conversation. I'm looking forward to flying this one out here in a couple of days. If people want to reach out to you, I'll put everything in the description below, but what's the best channels that you want?
Instagram. You message me on Instagram. I haven't really sort of pushed anything on Facebook or anything like that yet. So we were mainly sort of on Instagram and via the website then as well.
Okay, so Curtis Property Investments Limited on Instagram. Is that the name?
Curtis Property Investments. You'll find us on there,
Is the development side another one, or is that the same one at the minute?
It's the same one at the moment.
Okay.
Again, we are early doors with the development, so it's... Yes, it's within that Instagram page. If you want to get in contact for developments, just contact me on there.
Okay, I'll put a link to that then, and I'll put a link to your website.
Brilliant.
To direct people in. If you see his house, if you see we're in now this bachelor pad, I might get a little snippet at the end just to show you, this is the place you want to hang out with your friends. It's really nice. Great builder, great guy. Absolute pleasure for this interview, taking the time to do it with me today. So
Thank you very much.
That. All right, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.